At Spelman, the venerable black women's college in Atlanta, the decision to protest one rapper's depiction of black women sparked a protest last year that reached national prominence and partly inspired the Essence campaign. Nelly asked Spelman to join him to help increase bone marrow donors in the black community. He knew the problem on a personal level. His sister has leukemia, and the larger black community has proportionately fewer marrow and organ donors. He wanted to raise awareness of the problem. But around the same time, Nelly released a song about a woman too ugly for anything other than sex from behind. The lyrics were blisteringly crude. Spelman senior Moya Bailey is a pre-med student and head of the school's Feminist Alliance. Her organization paired with the student body, and they notified Nelly that he should expect some pretty stringent questioning if he came to Atlanta. Rather than face that, Nelly canceled his appearance at the school.
Spelman has a history of activism. Most recently, we've been known for the Nelly controversy and our work around black women's exploitation in music videos.
The Nelly situation, I heard about it because there was a rally.
Yeah, I heard about it, and it was always like, Nelly, but nobody cared. Like, it was always kind of this resentful. They protested Nelly here.
People may have had intentions of strictly pinpointing Nelly, which I do think is wrong because there are many rappers or lyricists who do this and degrade women, and it's wrong to pinpoint just one of them.
Well, I know some that didn't agree with it and some that did.
And I know a lot, I think a lot were kind of indifferent.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was kind of indifferent too. Yeah.
I felt that I just couldn't understand why people would be so quick to kind of go against Spelman and say, well, why don't you point out that these girls have a right to do what they're doing? These girls dress how they want to dress, these women, whatever.
Activism at Spelman didn't just come out of a vacuum. It was here for a long time.
AUC Peace? No. What is it about?
No, I never heard of that.
Okay.
I think AUC Peace is like really instrumental, like activist organization.
And I know that they try to get AUC Peace, have all the like schools agree with each other, get along with each other, and to stop all the tension between the Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark.
I first heard about AUC Peace with Sarah Thompson, and she was talking about a protest that she did against the war in front of the Woodruff Library.
Well, AUC Peace is an interesting group because it's a coalition, and so we take those representatives from other organizations. So we're really an action-oriented group. So some of the activities we've done is we led a walkout on March 20th, 2003, when the war started. We walked through Spelman, then Morehouse, onto Clark, through Morris Brown, down by ITC, all the way to CNN, where we protested at CNN, and then joined 1,000 other people at 5 Points to protest the war.
Last year, for the first anniversary of the attack on Iraq, which was March 20th, we decided to have a memorial service for all of the people who had been killed on either side. We had little placards with name cards of Iraqis and of US soldiers, and we remembered their names, and as we called out their names, we had a few hundred names. And we also, as we called out their names, we spilled the symbolic blood, which was red paint, on a white sheet, and it was really moving because it was like a visible sign, like a visible way for us to see that, you know, war is about individual people who get killed.
On Fridays, Atlanta activist groups would create no war zones, places where the war wasn't allowed to come, places of peace and places of just celebration. So we, Spelman students, went out over I-20, and we had so many signs, you know, honk for peace, and, you know, war is not the answer, and it was a wonderful time. We gave flyers and posters to everyone walking to and from the MARTA and asked them to stay with us for a couple minutes. We got a lot of good responses.
Well, I know that the administration wants Spelman women to be active in the community because that's part of the image of the Spelman woman. But I actually think that they do a lot to deter real activism. I know AUC Peace has felt that it's best to be involved with the administration as little as possible. Like, we're not even chartered just because of all the expectations that go along with it, and you start having to push their agenda and having to make their baskets at Thanksgiving, which is a very worthwhile thing, and having to have money, which we don't have. I kind of think Spelman wants its women to be pretty monitored in what they say.
I have heard of
Afrikini, but I'm not aware of everything that they do. I know that they deal with lesbian and transgendered and maybe, bi-curious people.
Is it a lesbian organization? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all. I heard of it and I read the flyers. I don't know too much about it.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
What do you know about it?
Nothing really. I just heard of it, just by word of mouth from other people.
You don't really hear a lot of people talk about it, and it's kind of like if you're looking at the flyer. I know when I was looking at it, I saw it freshman year, and people were just kind of like, some of the responses like, what are you looking at that for? Kind of looking at me weird.
Best that I can do about what it is that it's about bisexuality. I thought it was like homosexuality and bisexualism like that.
I don't think that's Afrikini, is it? I
thought
thought it was another group that was that.
No.
For lack of better terms, Afrikini is the Gay Straight Alliance in the AUC. It's a women's only space. It's a center for activism and social organization just around queer issues, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered. On Spelman's campus during the National Day of Silence, we have two things that happen every year. So we wear black and rainbows and we're quiet, and we pass out speak cards. It just basically says why you're being silent, why you've chosen today to participate, and then on the back you put what others can do to help break your silence. I had individuals take the card and look at it, what is this? This is stupid. You're no more silenced than I am. You can do whatever you want on this campus. You go to an all-girl campus, you should be happy. There's girls that you want to date here. Everywhere you turn around, you see them, they're everywhere. And people were just not understanding that that was a part of them being homophobic. After that, by the end of the day at 5 p.m., Afrikini hosts a speak out. So it's from a day of being silent to a time for us to be loud. It's a voice why we've been silent, to a voice how us being actively silent during the day affected us and how it represents the pains and things that we go through every day.
So we were getting ready for the Day of Silence, which kind of highlights, the silences in communities about homophobia and heterosexism. So a lot of people were participating because we wanted to make it a big deal. So it was a Big Mama joint effort. So FMLA members from Sassafras, members from other activist organizations on campus were all involved. So there were a lot of allies who were participating. And so I remember that people felt like the Day of Silence was like an outing thing, and like all the people who participated were gay. Like all the people who had on black that day, that meant that they were lesbian because they were being quiet. And it's just really frustrating that that's something that is so stifling in our community that prevents so many people from being involved. There was a homophobia forum, and people were saying things like, that's Afrikini, that's that gay group on campus. And the truth is, Afrikini is a gay straight alliance. So a lot of the people, like when I was really involved in Afrikini, the majority of people who were in Afrikini were allies. So I just think that people have these perceptions and have no basis for them.
This year, the 2004-2005 academic year has been kind of hard just because we are dealing with the lack of membership, a lack of participation. So we have a lot of members, but they're not active, they're inactive. Or we have a lot of members who are active in our listserv, but aren't active, visibly. So that all has to do with this whole Christian normative that's going on campus. Like, everybody's Christian, everybody goes to church, and you know, if you're Christian, you can't be gay. And so dealing with that, a lot of girls don't want to come out, and then dealing with just the overall fears of, you know, homosexuality in the black community, and then having to put all on top of that what a Spelman woman is supposed to be. She's supposed to be, you know, with the Morehouse man, or at least with a man, or something like that. So it's just a lot of things that are building up on each other, and I don't think that it's the environment right now for Afrikiti to kind of grow.
I've heard of FMLA, the words being said, but I never knew what they meant.
Yeah. Feminism. Discussed a little bit of it in AEW when I was a freshman. I hadn't really thought much about feminism.
Well, it depends because there's so many different definitions of feminism.
I think feminism is good. I honestly would say that I am a feminist, but in my own way.
FMLA stands for Feminist Majority Leadership Alliance. We're an organization at Spelman's campus designed to kind of deal with gender issues in the black community that aren't usually addressed. And so we try to uplift, you know, gender equity as something equally important as racial equity.
Last spring, we definitely, FMLA worked pretty hard trying to raise money to go to the March for Women's Lives, and we thought it was important because we need to have a presence there. You know, like a lot of other schools were going, a lot of other universities and colleges and women groups within those colleges were going, and Spelman and black women, women of color need to have a presence there too.
Well, the March for Women's Lives was interesting just based on the fact that I'd never been to anything that big. I didn't know how big it was going to be. All my protests have been in the AUC or like down the street or on the internet or, you know, calling somebody. It wasn't really anything that big. So I was generally excited about it.
The FMF, who was sponsoring the march, seemed really interested in Spelman having its own bus to go to the march, because we initially were going to go with another organization that was offering a free bus for people who wanted to stay at a youth hostel and go up for a weekend and do some workshops there. But we ended up getting our own bus, and it was weird because it just seemed like they were playing like who's bringing the kids of color to the march, and it was really, really kind of upsetting in that respect. And then when we got there, we were all kind of disappointed because our issues weren't really addressed. A lot of people who were going on the march weren't necessarily pro-choice, but were able to see themselves involved in the march because of the other issues of reproductive health, particularly those issues that are specific to women of color. And those things weren't really brought up and celebrated. And I know that, you know, Loretta Ross and Malifa Redmond did a lot in organizing the march and weren't recognized for their work the same way that other organizations and people were recognized.
The march did not fulfill all of my expectations. It fulfilled the fact that there's a lot of people there, we were marching, and we were feminists, but that was really about it.
We felt like our issues as black women weren't necessarily addressed, and that they had told us that it was about some of our issues, like, you know, reproductive health in general, and even child care. I mean, they told us that it was the March for Women's Lives and that it was a march for all these issues that surrounded womanhood. But when we got there, we found that the main issue was abortion, and so I think a lot of people just felt alienated.
I guess it was good to see a lot of the, not good to see, but just gave me a different perspective to see like all the people that were protesting against the march, particularly the Black Men Alliance or whatever that was, where they had like a lot of people. But I was a little disappointed with the march itself. I mean, we pretty much just like went there, walked around in a circle, and got back on the bus. And it just wasn't really memorable for me, except that it was cool to be there with all the other Spelman students. And
in a way, it was bad for, I guess, the response that I've gotten, like, oh, you go to Spelman, you know, what's your opinion on tip drill? And it was kind of negative connotation with it, but it was just like, it set a platform for me to actually speak about, well, you know, what do you actually think about women in music videos?
Some of the students, I want to say 30% were outraged. 60% still go to the club and shake their ass to the song. While 10% secretly want to dance to the song, but they don't.
I don't listen to Nelly anymore. I really don't. I really don't. I have no respect for him anymore. So.
In Dr. Guy Sheftal's feminist theory class, we had a discussion about how to resolve the whole Nelly issue, or address the whole Nelly issue, I guess, with whether or not he should come and we should protest, or if the whole thing should just be canceled and he should be uninvited. And I was one of the students who volunteered to be active in starting the protest and organizing it. I made flyers with, we had a meeting where we came up with some slogans, some catchy lines, found some of his lyrics and made flyers, and I put them, or we put them everywhere. I spent a lot of time doing that, and some of them, the lyrics were a little provocative, so I had to copy the little the Spelman stamp to approve it. The flyers were advertising for a meeting that we were going to have. We were going to show the video and have a discussion. But by the time the meeting came, Nelly had already pulled out of the blood drive, canceled it.
Well, his people decided that he wasn't going to come once they heard that students were planning to protest. So in the spirit of letting people know about what went down and how the drive got canceled, we decided to still go ahead and have some kind of action on that Friday. So we had the video playing, we had signs, you know, we care about your sister, why don't you care about ours? And the press was there. It blew up. And so the thing was that Nelly's people had gone to the press and made it look and appear as though Spelman had canceled the drive, when in fact they were the ones who pulled out. So when the press was looking at the situation, they were like, why are these Spelman girls so upset? And you know, they called us angry black women in one article on MSNBC. There was just a lot of hostility, and there was a lot of backlash on campus and off that was just really, really negative.
If we cannot find cohesiveness around a video as disgusting and as disrespectful as that video, if we can support a man who says, I will cast out to the world that you are nothing more than your backside. But by the way, can you save my sister's life? Nobody, no cameras, a whole lot of cameras ain't gonna be here for that. We're not gonna put that on BET. Can you save my sister's life? And in exchange, I will broadcast you as the prostitutes of the world.
The connection between going to the club and shaking their butts and a video like Tip Drill, I think a lot of times even Spelman women wouldn't be able to recognize a video like Tip Drill as being wrong unless it was really pointed out to them. I think they know somewhere that the way that women are portrayed on TV and things like that, that has an impact on the way women are treated, period. But I think it really takes a while for them to see a connection. And I think that's the reason why you see contradictions like protesting Nelly and then participating in misogynist culture on the weekends.
For us, it was just kind of like, this wasn't something that we did as a publicity stunt, but it's something that has continued this dialogue about images of women in the media. And as a result, you know, there's been interviews in magazines like Essence. We had the town hall meeting where Essence came. There's interviews, like international people are calling, like someone from the UK called wanting to do an interview. It's just, I mean, I don't think we knew at the time how big it was going to become.
As I remember, Dr. Guy Sheftal was saying this at one point, like, just as, you know, you couldn't anticipate a lot of the negative responses you got, we also didn't anticipate like all of the great things that came out of it, and like people that wrote an article on it. Like it was just like national attention, and I got emails from friends from high school and other places, like friends of friends, like my mom's friends would have heard about it, just like people all over mentioning it and just like congratulating me and Spelman, and running into people like at Starbucks. I had a discussion with one guy and he was like, yeah, these Spelman women, and I was like, yeah, I was involved in that, you know. It's just really cool. So that was really like a lot of positive reinforcement too.
I think what I've learned from the Nelly situation is that there's never an opportune time for activism, that sometimes situations arise and something has to be done, and you can't always wait for that perfect moment because there won't ever be one. What I've learned about myself through my activism at Spelman is that I'm a stronger person than I thought I was, and that Spelman is really a place where you can cultivate your inner strength and fortify who you are as a person.
I came in as really trying to find, like many other sisters at Spelman, what it means to be a black woman in this world, what it means to be a woman of color. And for me, I see that as a great opportunity to connect with so many people across the world, people of color, and to look and critique large systems and structures which have disadvantaged us for a long time, and look towards creating a better world. That's what the opportunity of being a woman of color means to me. So that dialogue, I think, has evolved over the past 4 years for me.
Well, my growth here at Spelman has been different. I mean, I feel like I've lived 2 lives here at Spelman. I've lived the life of, you know, being this extreme ultra Christian person who, you know, was everything was Christian. If it wasn't Christian, it was evil, to being this person who is comfortable in her own skin and who is able to speak my mind. And I really think that the second person that I've become is the more beautiful person.